Hey guys, before we start, we wanted to address a couple questions you guys asked us when we did that poll on Instagram. The first one was a question from Jose Suave 245 and it was, what is a good ratio for macros to have in a day? So he means carbs, he accidentally wrote cats, but I think he meant fats, and proteins.
So macronutrient ratios are really generally based on body composition. So body composition is based a lot about genetics, but generally if someone has a harder time putting on muscle, if they're generally more skinny, or if someone's a little bit thicker, or if someone has a higher metabolism, so they really burn through food really quickly, or they have a hard time just maintaining their weight. So when I talk about these ratios, they're all percentages of your macronutrients. So macronutrients, carbs, fats, proteins, kind of the building blocks of all the food that we eat. Each of these macronutrients have a different caloric density. So carbs and proteins have about 4 calories per unit per gram, and then 1 gram of fat generally has about 8 to 9 calories. If you guys are curious about learning how to set up your macros for the day, message us, because we're more than happy to help you guys set that up, because it's kind of confusing. So I'm going to go through 3 different ratios based on body type, based on your performance, like what you're trying to get out of your working out. So 25% protein, 55% carb, and 20% fat. This is generally for the person who's a little bit skinnier and has a hard time gaining muscle no matter how much they eat. The second ratio is 30% protein, 40% carbs, and 30% fat. This ratio has been used by a lot of athletes and a lot of CrossFitters who are trying to increase performance and increase effectiveness and muscle recovery. The final ratio is 45% protein, 35% carb, and 20% fat. This is actually a ratio I used before our wedding, where I was trying to cut down and cut some fat. So this is a really good one if you're trying to get lean, trying to get that 6-pack for the summer for your wedding. So yeah, those are some example ratios. There are a lot. These aren't all set in stone. Like, you can honestly create your own ratio if you do some research. That was the ratio I used for myself, and there are a lot of ratios out there.
The next question we got was from Maddie Clarice. Sup, Erwin. And her question was, teach me this, or it wasn't even a question, it was just, teach me the SLOOSH recipe, which isn't even the name of it, but we're just gonna call it the SLOOSH now. It's a recipe based on Nick Bear's MRE oats that he created. It's like a knockoff of that. But you're gonna watch it later after we're done talking. And the next question was from Andy Betharum 123. And his question was, do you have any good recipes that are good for gaining? And yes, we do. We have some recipes. We only have one that's really good for gaining that we're showing today, but we'll be showing more recipes as we go on Fridays.
The overnight oats recipe is a really good modifiable recipe that you can use if you're trying to gain mass, because all you have to do is just increase the amount of all the ingredients. But with that increase, you have to keep in mind what your calculated intake is for the day. So like based on whatever your macros are, you have to adjust it based on that. And the reason why I say that is because obviously, the contents of what you're eating during the day are important, making sure they're good, healthy foods. But at the same time, you can't just eat a bunch of food and expect to gain muscle. You have to put in just as much work in the gym as you do eating well. And if your body's not in a consistent state of atrophy, recovery, and re-stress, so like working out continuously and consistently, then your body's not gonna use those macronutrients to their best ability. They're literally just gonna metabolize, it's gonna get stored as fat, or it's just gonna be eliminated and pooped out.
Yep. Okay. Alright, so we're gonna go do the recipes now.
No, we're gonna go work out.
No, we're gonna show you the recipes. Bye!
Alrighty, this is the SLOOSH recipe, otherwise known as Nick Bear's overnight oats, slightly modified. So pretty much you're gonna measure out half a cup to a full cup of oats, 1 scoop of protein powder of your choice, a little dash of cinnamon, just enough almond milk to make it kind of slooshy, I guess the name will tell you. You can add really as much as you need just so it kind of forms a nice paste. All right, so now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, or just a big glob. You don't really need to measure it out. So that's the SLOOSH recipe, and now we're gonna move on to
the smoothie. Blender, almond milk, chocolate protein powder, peanut butter, cinnamon, vanilla, banana, spoon. Oh, it's 8-8. So you're gonna grab your gross, really ripe banana, plop it into your blender. Then you're gonna put about a cup of almond milk into the blender. And reach deep into your protein jar because it's running low and you should probably buy some more. Plop that in there, just 1 serving. And then you're gonna put just a little drizzle of vanilla. Bloop. There you go. And then with the cinnamon, you can put as much as your heart desires. Okay. Then you're gonna grab a blop of peanut butter. Just 1 little. Then you're going to blend away until it is finished blending. And that's it. On to the next thing.
next recipe is the fajita chicken recipe. Pretty much you're gonna get 2 bell peppers, 2 medium-sized onions, and about 5 pounds of chicken breast. So one really good thing about this recipe is, even though this footage is sped up, this whole process really only took us like 7-8 minutes. Alright, so once all your chicken's all cut up, usually while we're cutting the chicken up, I like to, put olive oil in between the layers of chicken and salsa just so I don't have to mix it up as much. But I made a little divot right here, and I just poured not really a lot of olive oil, just enough to coat the chicken so you don't have to coat the pan. So once you got your olive oil in there, we are using this red salsa right now. We've used salsa verde in the past, but pretty much you're just adding enough just to coat the chicken so you can marinate it either overnight or even just for an hour or 2. So now you got your food prepped. You can take your 2 pans, put the heat on medium-high, and you're going to spray it with some non-stick, either PAM or we're using just Kirkland brand non-stick spray. So once the pans are heated up, you're going to throw your veggies in there, splitting it equally between both the pans.
So you're going to cook the veggies until they're about just a little softened and the onions will kind of get transparent. Then you're going to add just a glob of garlic cloves. You mix that in there and let it cook for a little bit longer, say about 2 more minutes. I'm going to season it with salt, with pepper, and organic no salt seasoning from Costco. Once the veggies are done, you just put the veggies back into the container that they came from. And then you're going to put the chicken in those pans and start cooking them. Once they're starting to cook a little halfway, you pour the veggies back into the pan and you mix it together as it fully cooks.
I would say it generally takes maybe 20 minutes for the chicken to cook all the way through, but you essentially just want to make sure the chicken's cooked through and check to make sure there's no rawness or redness, and just make sure it's nice and hot all the way through.